Welcome to the Child Care Director's Chair, the podcast for bold educators who are ready to lead, grow, and shake things up in early childhood education. Whether you're a teacher eyeing that lead role, a lead stepping into leadership, or a center owner dreaming big, this is your space to grow with purpose and leave your mark. Hosted by heart-centered leadership coach Erica Saccoccio, each episode brings you real talk, actionable tools, and a contagious laugh or two, all designed to help you step into your next level with confidence. So pour your coffee, pop in those earbuds, and take your seat, because your leadership journey starts right now in the Child Care Director's Chair.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Child Care Director's Chair podcast. I'm your host, Erica Saccoccio, and I am recording from the beautiful, sunny state of Florida. I just had the most amazing 3 or 4 days with the Florida Family Child Care Association. Let me tell you, I met so many people, and I was down getting to help my wonderful trailblazer colleague, Annette Eberhardt. If you've never heard of her, she runs the Best Practices Unveiled podcast, where she talks to educators all over the country from all different places and spaces. She even talks to people who aren't educators, actually, just talk about best practices. She does a lot around health and wellness and making sure you don't burn yourself out. So it's a great podcast. And so proud of her. She got Board Member of the Year from the association. So let's hear it for Annette. I just love watching our trailblazers succeed. So, but that's not why you tuned in today. But if you see Annette, shoot her out a hello and good job, Annette. All right. So here's what I want to talk about today. Sorry, I know I always get off on a tangent, but I want to talk about, or maybe even just ask you, have you ever had those conversations? And I hope this is one that stays with you long after the episode ends. Not because of me, but because of what it asks you to think about. Today, we're going to talk about something I like to call the ripple effect. Have you ever thrown a pebble into a pond? Of course you have. The pebble hits the water and for only a second, but the ripples keep moving along long after that splash is gone. And leadership works exactly the same way. The interesting thing is that most of us spend our days focused on the splash. And for us, that could be the lesson plan, the staffing issues, enrollment numbers, the licensing visit, the parent complaint, and of course, the employee who called out. Maybe it's even a budget or a schedule. And those things matter, and they have to get done. Absolutely. But I think sometimes we just become so consumed by today's responsibilities that we forget to look at the ripples that those decisions create. Because leadership isn't measured by the moment. It's measured by what continues after that moment is gone. And I don't think we talk about that enough. When people think about leadership, they often imagine big moments, right? It could be standing on a stage. It could be giving a keynote. It could be winning an award, opening up another center, maybe receiving a promotion. But I have learned over 27 years in early childhood education that leadership almost never happens in those moments. Leadership happens on that ordinary Tuesday morning. It happens in the hallway conversations. And it happens when a teacher walks into your office carrying more than paperwork. Sometimes they're carrying self-doubt, exhaustion, fear, or even disappointment. They may ask you a simple question, but what are they really asking? Are they asking you, do you believe in me? And here's the part we often miss. They may never ask those words out loud, but they are listening for an answer in everything we do, in our tone, and our facial expressions, and whatever we look at, look at them when they're talking to us. Do we even look up from the computer? Guess is really what I'm trying to say. In whatever we make time, right? Do we make time, or do we keep blowing off those one-on-ones? Maybe it's even when we coach them or simply correct them. Those moments create ripple effects. And for some of the directors out there, I want to let you know, some of these teachers are coming to other centers with literally trauma, work trauma, because the only time that the boss ever talked to them is if they did something wrong, or the only time they stepped in the classroom was to correct them, not just to be there, just to be present, just to say, wow, I really heard the laughter coming from your classroom and I wanted to see what was going on, right? Because we're always in correction mode. And I think that's why some of you are so burnt out and you've lost the joy, because all your focus to just look around the room and look for what needs to be in compliance, what's wrong, what's not right, what needs to be straightened. How about sometimes we just enjoy being present? I can still remember leaders on my own journey. I can remember Joan Marshall. For those of you in Rhode Island, you know who Joan Marshall is, and maybe even Massachusetts. Joan Marshall was the coolest lady ever. She was my CDA advisor. And I think at the time that I met Joan, she was probably about 75 years old. And she was such a New Englander. She used to wear like a bucket hat, and you could tell she was definitely a hippie back in the day. And she really, really believed in me. And I was already pretty confident, but her words of encouragement as I was going through the CDA really changed who I was. And I think if I just think about leaders in general, the ones that have impacted my life, I can promise you I don't remember every policy that they've ever created. I don't remember every staff meeting. I don't remember every memo, but I remember how they made me feel. And I remember the leaders who saw something in me before maybe I saw it myself, or maybe I saw it in myself, but maybe not to the level that they did. And I remember the leaders who trusted me with opportunities that I wasn't sure I was ready for. I mean, really, when I came in this field, I've worked in like one childcare center that I now own, but I didn't start that way. And I always remember the leaders who made me feel invisible. And sometimes it wasn't even the leaders. Sometimes it was colleagues or folks at the same level as me, or the ones who never noticed the extra effort, or the ones who managed people but never really led them. And I'll let that sit in for a minute. Are we managing people or are we leading them? And if we're honest, every one of us has had both kinds of leaders in that story. But the question is, which kind of leader are you becoming in someone else's story? Because someone is going to tell you a story about you someday, and they might tell other people too. But I can tell you, I've had kids come back to me, I've had parents come back to me, I've had other colleagues in the field that reach out and say, wow, like I knew you 20 years ago when you were just the after school girl. Look at you, right? But it was one day at a time. And it's not always necessarily the person that you expect to be the leader that's in the room. Sometimes it's the least, and honestly, I would almost say most often it's the least person that you think is the leader in the room is really the one with the most influence, because they're observant, they listen, and then they take action. Lots of times we think it's the person who's talking all the time, but it's not. It's the person who's listening. It's the person who's taking action. You know, it's just they're going to tell a story about you and the way that you made them feel. Not because your enrollment was full, not because you had the fanciest center, none of that. It's going to be the way that you made them feel when you were leading them and when you were learning to lead, because we all make mistakes. One of the greatest mistakes I see in leadership is that we think our job is to solve all the problems. And yes, sometimes it is. But if every solution comes back to you, then every future problem, guess what, still comes back to you. That's not leadership, it's dependency. And we talk about it over and over on the show. Leadership isn't about becoming the person everyone needs forever. Leadership is helping people become the kind of leader who no longer needs you to make every decision. Think about that for a minute. If your center cannot function without you, have you built a strong organization? Or have you accidentally built a culture where everyone is waiting for your permission? And those things look very, very different. Great leaders don't create followers. They create thinkers and decision makers and problem solvers, and future mentors and future directors and future owners. And that only happens when we intentionally choose development over control. When I was sitting at the pool with my sister Chris, who's down here in Florida, and I asked her, I said, Chris, how many children do you think you have worked with in the last 29 years? She's been working with children longer than me. She's probably about 29, maybe even 30 years in. I don't even think anybody has ever even asked her that question. And she's like, wow, uh, it's thousands, like literally thousands. So think about the ripple effect of how many children have thought something differently, learned something differently, have a different perspective about themselves because of you. Or the same thing for families. That parent who maybe those first time parents, they weren't sure how to do something and you showed them, or you showed them why tummy time was so important for the development of their child. Or maybe even the teachers that you were teaching them why good is not good enough, that we're striving for excellence. We're striving for standards. One question has changed the way that I lead. Instead of asking, how do I fix this? I start asking, what is in this moment that is it's trying to teach this person or me? And that question, when you ask it, kind of changes everything because not every mistake needs an immediate rescue. Sometimes people grow because they wrestled with the challenge. I mean, think about it. I've had plenty of challenges in my life from the time I was a little kid all the way up to now being I don't want to say senior citizen, but heading that way for sure. I'm certainly a seasoned adult. And it was those challenges in life that really helped me become a confident, strong leader. And I wasn't always a leader. I was a manager first. I had to manage things, manage tasks, manage people, which sometimes you have to manage. And there are other times you're leading. But, sometimes that confidence isn't built in the successes, but the failures. It's built in discovering what we're all capable of doing. And as leaders, we often rob people of that opportunity because we're trying to help. But helping isn't always developing. And sometimes helping becomes more like rescuing. And rescuing, well, that creates dependency, and coaching creates confidence. And that's the difference. I know you think about people who work with you right now. I want you to think about it for a second. I know you think about them all the time. What can you do for them? How can I help them? Maybe they're not meeting your expectations. Maybe you're not meeting theirs. But think about them as a person. Think about them not as their job description or their schedule or their performance evaluations, just as a human being. Every one of them is becoming someone. Someone they are more confident in being. Or are they becoming someone who's more fearful? Like I said, those teachers who walk in our doors every day, who have stress from their past jobs, they have trauma from their past experiences. And some are discovering strengths that they didn't even know they had. And others are quietly questioning whether they're capable enough to even stay in this profession. And I will tell you, that was the number one thing for me always when I contemplated leaving the fields. And yes, I contemplated several times. And let's be honest, you have to. But for me, it was always the culture. It was never about the pay. It was never about the pizza parties. It was never about anything other than growth and the work culture. Was there an opportunity for me to grow here? If the answer was no, I had to go. And that was really honestly the gauge that not only that I had when I worked for other people, it's the gauge I have right now when I work for myself. If I'm not growing, I got to go. And so I do new things now. I do other things that bring me joy. I lead myself and I lead others to do the same thing. My leadership, it is helping shape a version of myself and others. And I want to be as purposeful as I can, as intentional as I can, because every conversation either expands someone's confidence or it shrinks it. And every conversation leaves a ripple. I think one of the greatest gifts a leader can give someone is borrowed belief. Boy, that's so true. There are seasons in life when people simply cannot see their own potential. They've been criticized too much. They've failed. They're overwhelmed, they're burned out, and sometimes our role isn't to hand them the answer. It's simply to hold belief for them until they can hold it for themselves. And shout out to my girl. You know who, yeah, I know you'll listen. Shout out to my girl, my friend in my Trailblazer group. And there's a few of them who really, at first, were not so sure they were on the right path. But now they are doing such extraordinary things, things that they were too scared to do. And now they're doing them. So think about that. How many people are leading today because someone else believed in them first? I know I am. There are moments in career that I didn't have all the experience. I didn't have every credential. Honestly, when I first started, I didn't even have a GED. And I certainly don't have, all the confidence when I first started. But someone looked at me and said, I think you can do that. That sentence became a ripple. Years later, I'm still riding that wave of someone else's belief. Now, it's my responsibility to become that person for someone else. And it's yours too. Here's another truth I learned. Titles don't create legacies. People do. One day, every one of us will leave the position that we're in today. We'll retire. We'll move on. We'll sell our businesses, sad but true, and simply transition into another season of life. The office will eventually have someone else sitting in it. Oh, brings tears to my eyes because I can see that. The title will belong to someone else and the keys will be handed over. But your influence, that will always continue because the teachers you coached will lead classrooms differently. The assistant director that you mentored will lead her team differently. And the owner you encouraged may open another center. And the child whose teacher stayed in the profession because of your leadership may one day become a teacher, a doctor, an engineer, or a parent who changes the next generation. And that's the part of leadership we don't always get to see. But that doesn't make it any less real. Leadership is one of the few professions where your greatest impact may happen through people you've never, ever met. So today, I want to leave you with this challenge. This week, don't focus on your to-do list. Focus on your ripple list. Ask yourself, who needs encouragement from me this week? Who needs an opportunity instead of another instruction? And who needs coaching instead of correction? Who needs me to trust them with something bigger? And who needs to hear, I believe in you? Those 5 questions may do more for your organization than checking off 20 tasks off your to-do list. Checklists are great, but people are better. Because when people grow, organizations grow. And when leaders multiply, culture changes. And when confidence spreads, everyone benefits. So as I close today's episode, I want you to remember this. Years from now, your staff probably won't remember every agenda or every meeting. We know they won't. They won't remember every spreadsheet. They won't remember every policy or every kumbaya or pizza party or gift card. But they will remember how you made them feel when they were becoming the leader that they are today. So lead in a way that creates ripples of courage, ripples of trust, ripples of confidence, ripples of opportunities, and ripples of hope. Because every leader leaves a legacy. The only question is whether your legacy happens by accident or because you intentionally choose to create a ripple that outlived you. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If this episode spoke to you, I would love for you to share it with another leader who needs a reminder that their influence extends far beyond the walls of their program. And until next time, keep leading with purpose, keep investing in people, and remember, you may never see every ripple you create, but it doesn't mean it isn't changing someone's life. I'll see you in the next episode of the Child Care Director's Chair podcast.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Child Care Director's Chair, where we believe leaders aren't born, they're grown. If something sparked for you today, share it, shout it out, or pass it along to the next bold changemaker in childcare. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with Erica Saccoccio for more real talk leadership tools and a whole lot of inspiration. Until next time, lead with heart, grow with fire, and always remember, the chair is yours. Now own it.